Dear listener, before you turn the page, take a deep breath. Let your body settle and your mind soften. Wherever you are, beneath cozy blankets, curled in a quiet corner, or lying still in the hush of night, allow yourself this moment of stillness. Gently close your eyes. Feel the present melt away. At dawn, listen for the whispers of another time, long before our own. This is not a fairy tale. This is a story rooted in truth. A truth heavy with sorrow, yet carried with immeasurable strength. Tonight, won't just listen to this story. You will feel it. The earth beneath bare feet, the sun on tired shoulders, the ache of loss, the heartbeat of hope. When you're ready, let this story carry you from the comfort of your bed to a place that should never be forgotten. It's Harlem, New York, 1926. You were just 17 when you first snuck into the Blue Room. The Blue Room was a speakeasy by night, a soup kitchen by day. The Blue Room sat wedged not so comfortably between a beauty parlor and the Scots funeral home, tucked just low enough under the avenue that your daddy never noticed you slipping out the back window. You surely weren't supposed to be there. You were a good girl, fresh-pressed curls, senior year dreams stitched into the hem of your skirt. But you had a voice, a real one. Your family didn't know it. You sang to yourself in the shower. And when you sang, the room leaned in like it had secrets to tell. Oh, that Blue Room. He was there too, at that old upright piano. Didn't say much at first, just offered a sure nod when you passed. But you felt his eyes when you stepped up to the mic. You felt them the way you feel thunder before it breaks, just striking. He wasn't polished, didn't have much schooling. He dropped out in the 8th grade to help his daddy run a delivery shop on 134th. But that man played like the piano owed him a solid favor. Like it was the only language he ever truly learned. You sang like someone had unlocked a door inside you. He played like someone had lit a match in the dark. You didn't speak until the 3rd night. You could never forget the 3rd day. It was the week after the bombing over on Wall Street. Boy, the news was thick with talk of radicals and of Negro suspicion. You remember the smoke still lingering in the headlines, white folks tightening their grip on their wallets and children. The city felt afraid. But the Blue Room was packed. Didn't miss a beat. He introduced himself as James. Said, your voice reminded him of rain on tin. Soft, but impossible to ignore. You blushed, told him not to talk like that. He shrugged, grinned, and asked when he could walk you home. You told him never. You knew Daddy would kill him for sure. Of course, he walked you home anyway. The street was quieter than usual that night. The kind of quiet that makes the city feel like it's holding its breath. You were holding your breath. You stepped out of the Blue Room and into the Harlem air, eyes darting left and right, 'cause someone from church might see you and report back to your mother before the sun rose. But James, he just walked beside you, hands in his pockets, whistling a low tune that felt like it had your name in it. You didn't say much at first. The silence between you stretched like a thread, thin and golden, neither of you daring to cut it. That night, moonlight spilled across Lenox like a slow-moving melody. Gas lamps flickered. The echo of jazz trailed behind you from the Blue Room's back door. Somewhere in the distance, a baby cried. You heard a couple arguing in Spanish, and a cat knocked over a trash can with all the confidence of a person. Your heels clicked on the cracked sidewalk in your patent leather shoes. His shoes scraped softly beside you. Every so often, your arms brushed, just barely, enough to make your breath catch. The silence was broken. Your daddy really that bad? He asked, smirking, not looking at you. You didn't answer. Just gave him that side eye, the kind that said, "Don't push your luck, boy." But he laughed anyway. That low, warm laugh, the one that sounded like a bass line under everything. He asked if you wanted some ice from the corner man. You said no. He bought some anyway and handed you the bag wrapped in a brown paper. "For your nerves," he said, and you hated how right he was. By the time you turned onto your block, your stomach was tight with something you didn't have the words for yet. Not quite love, not yet, but hope. That dangerous, golden kind. When you reached your stoop, the porch light was off. Daddy wasn't up. Thank the Lord. You turned to him, meaning to say goodbye like a lady should. But he just stood there, rocking on his heels, eyes soft and steady. "Well," you whispered. "Well," he echoed. And then he stepped forward, slow, careful. He didn't reach for your waist or your hand. Just leaned in and kissed your cheek, right below your eye, where a tear would have been if you'd let it fall. It was the kind of kiss that didn't ask for anything in return. The kind that said, "Thank you for letting me walk beside you, even just for this block." The kind you feel long after the lips are gone. You stood there frozen, blushing, heat rising all the way to your ears. He backed away with a grin. "Guess that wasn't never," he said. James tipped his hat and strolled back down the block, whistling that same tune. And you? You stood there, on that stoop, bag of ice melting in your hand, heart doing something loud and new in your chest. And though you didn't know it then, that kiss would be the first line in the song you two would never stop playing. For weeks, he pursued you like a song he couldn't stop humming. Brought you sweet sugar sticks and sunflower seeds. Wrote your name in chalk on the sidewalk outside the club. Waited outside school, knowing full well your daddy would tan his hide if he saw. You resisted, told yourself it was a distraction. But he just kept showing up, and every time he played, you swore the piano said your name. It was autumn 1927 when you finally gave in. Leaves crunched under your feet as he walked beside you, jacket slung over your shoulders. He reached for your hand. You let him have it. 3 months later, he knocked on your front door, hat in hand, nerves in his throat. Your father answered. You watched from the hallway as that James looked him square in the eyes and said, "Sir, I love your daughter. I ain't got much, but I've got a steady job and a song in my chest. I'd like your blessing to love her out loud." Of course, your daddy didn't smile, but he nodded. And that was enough. You weren't supposed to fall in love at 17. You weren't supposed to be in that club. You weren't supposed to trust a boy with nothing but calloused fingers and a borrowed piano. But you did, and somehow, the world has been singing ever since. A wedding, daddy's funeral, one failed pregnancy, no money. You wake each morning to the rustle of silk against skin, the low hum of a saxophone bleeding through the walls from a neighbor who plays until his fingers go numb. The dawnlight spills across your small Harlem apartment like honey, golden and warm, dust dancing in its rays. The city is alive already, even before your feet hit the floor. You're young, just a young woman, 23. And in love. I was, truly in love. With him. With Harlem. With the rhythm of the Renaissance blooming right outside your window. It is vibrant. It is encouraging. It is alive. Your man stirs beside you. Each breath he takes smells like sweet jazz music and champagne dreams. He was the Blue Room and at Connie's Lounge late again, playing piano for folks who paid him richly. In gin and roaring applause. Yes, you forgive it. You always do. Because when he plays, he makes the world stop. You are no longer cooped up in this one-room apartment. You are free. Not a care in the world. 1. Because The Lord knows. His hands, those long brown hands, make even broken things sound whole. Your apartment is no palace, but it's home. The wallpaper peels in places. The sink leaks. The floorboards creak. There's a record player that skips on St. Louis blues, and that old tea kettle whistles high and impatiently every morning. But it smells like cinnamon toast and pomade, like last night's fried catfish and lavender oil dabbed behind your ears. It smells like black survival and sweetness all in one breath. You iron your dresses in the kitchen, sing Ella under your breath. And he watches you from the armchair with tired eyes and a grin he reserves only for you. You both know rent's due. You both know the gigs are drying up. But you also know this thing between you two is something bigger than bills or setbacks. Music is your glue, your language, your future, your prayer. And outside those apartment windows, Harlem beats like a living drum. Lenox Avenue is buzzing, bakers shouting out their specials, boys tap dancing for coins, ladies brushing red lipstick on stoops like they're preparing for war and worship all at once. If you know what I mean. On the street you pass fresh murals of Marcus Garvey and hear rumblings about Negro pride, about the writers and painters shaking the ground with their words. There's talk of revolution, of riots, of a reckoning on the horizon. And still, you love in between headlines and hushed fears. You love in the thick of a world that's trying to decide if people like you even deserve to dream. You read The Crisis, aloud to each other on Sundays. You go to rent parties, where the air is thick with heat and horns, and you hold hands in dark corners, while Langston Hughes recites poems that sound like something you could have written. You dance like your bodies are extensions of the beat, like sorrow never touched your bones. You kiss under street lamps. You argue about Armstrong versus Basie. You make up over cornbread, coke, and laughter. But the world outside your window doesn't always clap to your rhythm. Sometimes the headlines read like warning. Man from your church was lynched 2 towns over. A black soldier denied burial in a white cemetery. Then there was another round of redlining passed in the city council, pushing your people further into crowded corners of New York. And we carry that rage quietly, in stiff spines, on long walks home, in knowing glances shared on the subway when a white woman clenches their purse too tightly. But then you come home, and he's there. And you pull the needle across a record, slow. You hum while he sits down at the upright piano your uncle left behind. The room fills with sound, and you remember. You were born into struggle, but you were built for joy. The music is yours. The love is yours. The future, still being written. Tonight, you'll sleep tangled in limbs and linen. Tomorrow, you'll rise with Harlem again. And maybe, just maybe, you'll change the world. One note at a time.